Hello and welcome to Sky Blue Sunday. Yesterday we played against Nottingham Forest on the 15th of the 10th. As you'll have guessed, it's the 16th of the 10th today. With me I've still got my co-commentator Rob. Rob, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, hello again everyone.
So for the game we were actually going to struggle for a couple of players. We had a few injuries and a couple of doubts. Those were Joe Murphy, Martin Craney, Sammy Clingan and Gary McSheffrey. Rob, what was the reason for Joe Murphy being out?
He picked up an injury in training. I think quite a few of them had, and there were doubts for the game, but they managed to pull through and start a couple of them, apart from Craney and McSheffrey, who missed out.
Yeah, basically what happened with Craney was he's believed to have cracked a couple of ribs, so I'm not looking to see him any time in the near future. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later though, because he's probably at the minute our star defender. Sammy Clingan was also rumoured to be doubtful, but he managed to get into the side and played pretty well actually. And Gary McSheffrey was also out. Not really sure why. We reckon it was an injury picked up in training, so he didn't actually start. So if I do the home team, Rob, and you do the away team. So we started off with Murphy in goal, with a back four of Keogh, Hussey, Wood and Christie. In midfield we had Clingan, Ball, Deegan and Thomas, and up front we had Djukovic and Platt. The substitutes for the game were Chris Dunn, Nathan Cameron, Gail Bigger-Romana, Cody McDonald and Roy O'Donovan.
For the visitors, Forest, they lined up with Lee Camp in goal, back four of Hill, Chambers, Morgan and Gunter, midfield of McGugan, Greening, Moosey and Derbyshire, and up front was Miller and Tudgay. On the bench was Smith, Maloney, Reid, Majewski and Findlay.
So the game started off not really in Coventry's favour. Nottingham Forest looked to get on the ball pretty well. We're passing it around really well and looked to get at our defence more than we were showing any sort of signs. In the first couple of minutes they actually had a cross that was flashed across goal about 5 yards out, and unfortunately for them, unfortunately for Coventry, they didn't manage to get a player on the end of it. So that was one really big mistake that could have led to a goal scoring opportunity. What did you think about it, Rob?
I think Forest definitely came out of the start of the game a lot better. First 15 they controlled the game. The midfield seemed a lot more on the ball than ours, and yeah, the first 15 I think definitely controlled by Forest, and I think that's probably mainly because they wanted to come out and impress their new manager.
We actually had our first chance just before the half-hour mark when Clive Platt headed towards the goal. Lee Camp forced to tip it over the crossbar. It was actually a really good header. What did you think of it, Rob?
It was. It's the sort of chance you expect Platt to take, because he's a big bloke and he's good in the air. So yeah, it's good to see him getting that sort of effort on target.
That was pretty much all that happened in the first half. So it wasn't a great first half. It was a little bit boring, a little bit the two teams trying to feel out each of our...
It felt a bit like a friendly the first half, just as you say, trying to get a hold of the game.
Yeah, they were just trying to test each other out, see what each other had got. And to be honest, I was expecting a lot more from Nottingham Forest, seeing as they've got a couple of really good names in there, and especially when you lose a manager such as they did with Steve McLaren, you tend to see teams that know who their manager is going to be. They want to play well in front of him. As everyone knows, Steve Cotterill is going to be the new manager. He wasn't managing at the game, but he was stood in the stands. He would have been looking at the players that he liked, who he thought didn't perform well, and you would think that they would all be trying their very best just to do really well in front of him so that they could get picked for the next game. But it didn't seem as though it was going all that well. So the second half started off the same, so to speak. It was a little bit slow until the first 10, after the first 10 minutes, when the game basically burst into life. One of the Forest players felt the ball had crossed the touchline for a throw-in before Wes Morgan was conceded a corner. From the resulting corner, Camp produced a save to keep out Keogh's header. What did you think of that header, Rob?
That was I think more the save. It's got to be highlighted because that was an immense save. It was brilliant. The cross from, as you say, the cross from Hussey. I think it was Wood who got the final header in. But yeah, it was a point blank save from Camp. It was a world class save really, and I think because our goal came so close after it, there wasn't enough time to really heap the praise on the keeper because he did pull off a really good save. It was a good header as well. I mean, there's nothing else he could have done. He got it on target. But yeah, the save has to be highlighted for me.
Basically, as what happened as we were sat behind the goal, it was actually in our end where we were sat, and I believe it was Keogh, but I'm not sure, it might not have been, who put in the header into the top left corner, and Lee Camp, who was Nottingham Forest's goalkeeper, literally pulled out a almost Puma-like dive to get the ball away. It was just unbelievable. As I saw it, I just stood up and just clapped the guy because seriously, it was one of the best saves that I've ever seen during watching a Cov game. And unfortunately, about 30 seconds later, the ball came back in from a throw-in from, I believe it was Cyrus Christie.
Yeah, it was a quick throw-in and Christie got the cross in.
And Christie crossed it in. Lukas Jukovic managed to get a really good head onto it and put it into the top right corner of the goal. And it was just a really well placed header. What did you think of the goal?
It was a great header. I mean, I was just so shocked to see that we'd actually scored a goal. You can't really remember much of the goal, but yeah, it was a great header. And to the fact that he's put it past the keeper that's just pulled off that world-class save, it's got to be kudos to the striker.
A couple of minutes later, we looked as though we were going to go 2-up when Connor Thomas had a header and it was cleared off the line before Camp parried Bowles' strike to safety. That was another great opportunity. We probably should have scored it. We were looking threatening at that point, but at the end of the day, it wasn't to be. And then later on during the game, with I believe it was about 15 minutes left, City goalkeeper Murphy collided in the air. Basically what happened was Ishmael Miller tried to get on a header. Murphy managed to punch the ball away, but sort of got sandwiched in between Miller and the post, forcing him to be knocked unconscious. It took about 8-9 minutes to treat Murphy, and it was actually really bad because after the game I heard on the radio that Murphy was awake and he was on the road to recovery, but when he first woke up he didn't actually know who he was, so he suffered some short-term memory loss. This was actually words from Andy Thorne, so it was on the BBC WM radio show, the after show thing. So I'm really hoping that nothing big has happened to Murphy because he's a really good goalkeeper and I think we need him on Tuesday against Leeds. What do you reckon, Rob?
As you say, with the concussion, I think hopefully it'll be a short-term thing, but you've got to be careful with that sort of thing, haven't you, with any injury to the head. So you've got to make sure he's right, and if he's not right for Tuesday night, then hopefully his stand-in Chris Dunn can come on and try and make that first team spot his while Murphy's out.
Yeah, because one thing that we've always said since the start of the season is Murphy and Chris Dunn have always been fighting for the first team spot.
Yeah.
Chris Dunn came from Northampton Town, who I believe were in League One at the time, or League Two, and he was a really good keeper for them. He got many man of the match awards. Murphy had gone down with Scunthorpe, but we managed to get him on a free. So it's been a bit of they've both been fighting for the first team place, and we haven't seen too much of Chris Dunn, but when we did see him, I believe it was against Derby.
Yeah, it was Derby, yeah.
He did really well for that. He'd actually suffered some sort of head injury himself before that game, so was wearing like one of those rugby caps, but he managed to do really well for us considering he was brought in not actually expecting it. So what do you reckon of Chris Dunn and how he might perform on Tuesday?
Well, we've only seen glimpses of him so far, but he looked okay in the couple of pre-season games that saw him in, and hasn't looked out of place when he's come on in the league. So yeah, you can hope that that we've got a decent backup if Murphy's not 100%.
Yeah, so then Forest substitute Robert Finley nodded a good chance over from close range, and just after that Lukas Jukovic had another headed opportunity which unfortunately rebounded back on off the crossbar. It was a really good opportunity. I wasn't seeing it coming, to be honest, but he managed to have a good chance, and had it been a little bit lower, we might have been sitting on a 2-0 win. What did you think of it, Rob?
He's done well to get the effort in on goal, but with Jukovic, he tries so hard, and the fact that every time he goes up for the ball, whoever we're playing, the defender who's with him has always got hold of his shirt and has always got hold of him as well, and it's so hard for him to win the ball because he's always being fouled, but the referees don't seem to pick up on it, which is what there was a penalty shout as well when he got pushed in the box, but referees aren't going to pick up on the fact that he's getting fouled every time he's trying to get the ball. They're not going to give him a penalty for something that's happening in the box when they're not giving it when it's happening outside the box. So you just hope that referees are going to start picking up on it, because if you just watch him, you see his shirt's literally being pulled off his back, and he's being fouled nearly every time, and it's just annoying to watch. And it must be frustrating for him because it's annoying to watch it. So let alone if it's happening to you, it must be so frustrating. But
I mean, we found the same with Clive Platt as well.
Yeah,
because
the
Clive
same
Platt
happens to
played.
him.
And it's the fact of big defenders who are going to win the ball 9 times out of 10 when there's a long ball situation, which it does happen with Clive Platt very often. He will win the ball, but they've always got their hands round his back, pulling on his shirt, pushing at him. And the thing is, referees never understand that. If it's ever the defender that's being pushed by the striker, straight away, just like that, it's a free kick. But when it happens on the other side of the when it's the striker that's getting pushed, the referees never do anything about it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cov fan. I'm on about this for all.
It happens to every team, but
every massive player, everyone who's really tall. You could say the same about Peter Crouch and a couple of other players. They never get the benefit of the doubt by the referee when they're jumping up for the ball and might have a hand on the shirt. They always get given a penalty against them. But on the other hand, it's if they're getting pulled, their shirt's getting pulled, they're getting pushed, nothing ever seems to happen. And it is one of those things that does need to change, because seriously, there were 1 or 2 opportunities where Clive Platt was getting manhandled to the ground, literally almost round his neck, and they still weren't giving him a free kick. And it's just pretty stupid that they're not doing it, because at the end of the day, football is a contact sport, but you can't pull on someone's shirt and drag them down and stuff like this. So at the end of the day, I think referees do need to learn that what's good for one is good for another, and they need to be consistent in their decisions when someone's getting their shirt pulled. So due to the Joe Murphy injury, there were actually 10 minutes of injury time. I was thinking at the time that Forest could have come back. They had a couple of waves where they were really pushing and trying for it, but they couldn't find an equaliser. So what did you think of the game overall, Rob?
Well, can I just say, I think that Steve Cotterell's got a massive job on his hands, because looking at the team sheet before the game, you see Nottingham Forest, you see the players they've got. I think you mentioned it earlier, the fact they've got some decent names in there. They've got McGugan, Green in Derbyshire in midfield, and you see those names and you can see there's experience there, and you can see there's quality
Miller
there.
As well, and
Miller up front, yeah, exactly. And you just before the game, I was thinking we've got to be at the top of our game here to at least compete with them. And you saw the first 15 minutes, maybe we were going to get overrun. But I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or anything, because the quality just wasn't there from them, and they didn't seem to be cohesive as a team. It just sort of, they didn't really play well with each other. They just sort of, I don't know. I just don't know what it was. It must be a confidence thing with the fact that there's all the stuff going on off the pitch.
I mean, there's another player that I really rate in Chris Morgan, who is a pretty big guy, and is probably going to give Clive Platt a good run for his money 9 times out of 10. But it just seemed as though Platt had the will of the park, so to speak, when the balls were coming down. Even though he was being pulled back and stuff like that, he was still getting on the end of the ball 9 times out of 10. And it's just a shame to see such a good club like Nottingham Forest that are struggling so much. I mean, obviously we're Coventry City fans. We're going to hate them. We're not going to dislike them because it's a derby game. But I don't dislike them as much as the likes of Leicester or West Brom, Birmingham. They're actually a pretty decent team, and to be honest, they should be fighting for promotion.
They should, and they're in sort of a similar situation to us off the pitch. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, I don't really know that much about it, but I know there's a lot going on off the field there as well as on. But it seems to be affecting the players more than it is for Coventry, because to see the second half was a real solid team performance from Coventry, whereas with Forest it just seemed all over the place. I mean, they've got Premiership quality, and with Miller and Derbyshire and Greening, I mean, they've all played regularly in the Premiership the past few seasons, and then you've got upcoming talent like McGugan, who's always putting in decent performances and scoring cracking goals and things. It just wasn't there yesterday, and I think I can just imagine Cottrell sitting in the stand thinking, bloody hell, you know, what have I got to do here? Because it's just a massive task for him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. Who's the player? Darren Huckabee mentioned on his Twitter. He tweeted out saying, "Great win for Coventry, but Jesus Christ, Cotterill has a lot of work to do at Forest." And
yeah.
I agree with it. I think they are going to be in and about the relegation zone towards the end of the season. Hopefully we won't be, but you never know with Cov. 1 minute they're playing okay, the next minute they're not. I'm not going to say that I think we're going to go down, because I don't, but I think we're going to be pretty close to the relegation zone this season, maybe a little bit closer than we were last season. So yeah, the game ended 1-0. Obviously we were all really happy, the Sky Blues winning, getting out of the relegation zone and moving up to 18th in the table. But one thing that I really want to mention is the fact that Bigger Imana, number 8, who came on the 83rd minute, when he started to warm up, he got such a rapturous applause when he first came out. And I think he's been a real revelation for the Sky Blues. He's a breath of fresh air. I think all of the fans like him. The fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve when we win, he does his little trademark celebration. I just think the guy's a really good kid and can really spur the team on, even though he is only young, so he's not going to play as a first team player, but he's going to be there as an option, and I think the fans like to see him on the pitch. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it was good to see him back. I think it was right for Thorne to rest him. We said that obviously after the Ipswich game he had a dip of confidence and a dip of form. But to rest him and for him to come back, yeah, I think it'll be a good thing for him, and he'll come back stronger and come back fighting and put in those decent performances that we saw at the beginning of the season.
So yeah, now I just want to talk a little bit about the back room, sort of off the pitch situation, and in particular Paul Cloughton, who has resigned from his position of the, I think it's the director of football.
Just chief exec.
Chief exec, yeah. So why do you think he's actually resigned from that position?
Well, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about that's been going on behind the scenes. For him to just resign out of the blue and release, like, what was it, about a paragraph statement on the website saying he's resigned to further his career somewhere else. It's you don't know what's happened, but whether it was something whether he's been pushed, whether he's decided to jump before something happens, whether it's just his heart's not in it, whether it's a personal thing, we don't know because we've not been told. So it's a strange one, but I don't know. We've just got to move on now.
The thing is, he was actually brought in by Sisu themselves at the start of the off season last season, when the likes of Paul Cloughton, Ken Dooley, I can't remember the Canadian guy's name.
Yeah, Brody. Yeah.
Leonard Brody, yeah. When they brought them all in, it was like this. It was going to be this whole amazing team. I mean, there was a guy on the fan forum that said that he'd never seen a backroom set up like this in 25 years of working at Coventry City. And then all of a sudden, 6 months, 7 months later, Paul Cloughton's gone, and we don't know why. We don't know whether he's been pushed. We don't know anything. It just makes me wonder whether there's a big story coming around the corner that could potentially be a big problem for Coventry, and Paul Cloughton doesn't want his name associated with it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the thing, we don't know. So we could sit here speculating all night, but the main thing is we don't know what's gone on. So it's difficult to discuss it really, because you don't know the details of it.
I mean, with him being chief exec as well, he didn't really say that much, in all honesty. All it was the whole politician sort of no comment, this, that and the other, talking a load of rubbish sort of thing. I know that sounds like it's over the top, but, it's just like he ignores.
It's another case of actions speak louder than words. He said a lot, but didn't really act upon what he said. I mean, they said when he came in, his aim was to boost up season ticket sales and things. Well, you can see from the last couple of attendances that hasn't really happened, has it? So, what can you believe?
Yeah, so moving off topic, moving away from Paul Cloughton now, the Andy Thorne rumours that were fuelled by Twitter. Basically what happened was, I was actually caught up in all of this. I wasn't caught up, but I heard about this the day that it came out, from, I think it was Coventry City Official or something like that. I think it was on Facebook, and I heard that he had quit, and I can't remember who the midfielder was. Who was our midfielder last season that was captain? Lee Carsley, that was the one. Apparently Lee Carsley was taking over for the Nottingham Forest match. I wasn't sure whether to believe it, so just said nothing about it. And then the next morning, apparently Andy Thorne had a bit of a go at the people on Twitter who had been spreading the rumours. So yeah, I wasn't surprised that it was a lie. Reason why is I don't see Andy Thorne as a quitter. The one thing that we do have on our badge at Coventry City is a phoenix. Yeah, okay, it's all to do with World War II and rising from the ashes, but it shows, I think that is sort of like a symbol of our club, that we don't give up no matter how much anyone hates us, berates us, slags us off. No matter whether we're 2-3-0 down, we just will never give up, and we're always there, rising from the ashes. I mean, last season before, for the past 4 or 5 years, we've been one of the favourites to go down. But look at us, we're still here, we're still fighting, we don't give up. And that's one thing that I think is a testament to Andy Thorne, that I don't think he will resign. I think he'll have to be sacked, or have his contract mutually terminated by Sisu and himself. So I don't know, what do you believe about that, Rob?
Well, I could see why he was annoyed, because the rumour itself was that he'd quit, and there was unrest in the changing rooms, the dressing room and that. So yeah, it's just completely unfounded rumours. But I can't say that I wasn't surprised that I'd heard that he'd quit, because I wouldn't blame him for quitting, because the stress that he's under. But as you say, yeah, I don't see him as a quitter. He's come out and said as much, that he's not a quitter. So I've been really happy with the way the team have played under him, considering the constraints we've got and things. But it's I don't know really. The rumours can start and then they get fuelled, and as you say, it was on Facebook and Twitter and everything, and people take that stuff as gospel. So it's one of them things. You've just got to move on, because he's come out and said that he's not going to quit, so he's not going to quit. So it was in the past. He's our manager, and he's going to be our manager for the foreseeable future. I
mean, I can't actually see him getting sacked by Sisu or anything like that.
Well, no,
within
because
the
then they'd
near
have to pay
future,
more money,
because
wouldn't they?
exactly, they're going to have to bring a new manager in. And let's face it, who in their right mind would want to become a Coventry City manager with no money? They're stuck with the team that they've got now. Andy Thorne's, in my opinion, has made us play a way that we're good at, a
Yep.
way that's stylish, and a way that I don't think there are many other managers that could actually come in and do that without having the 20 or 30 years experience that Andy Thorne has had as chief scout. He knows who he's brought in. He knows every player he's brought in, and there's a reason why he's brought them in. He knows their strengths, their weaknesses, and he plays to them. And fair play to him. He's doing a really good job on what is an unfundable team. We've got no funds. We can't get any loans in, which is what I'm going to be talking about next. There's Freddie Eastwood's been told that he can leave as well. And it's just like, well, there's not much else that he can do that another manager could do, if that makes sense. So yeah, Andy Thorne, if you do actually watch this, I just want to say keep up the good work. I'm behind you, Rob's behind you, everyone I know is behind you, and just keep it going. So as I said, talking about loans, do you think we'll get anyone in? I know I ask this every single week, but it's got to be playing on everyone's mind. Rob?
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Sorry, it went a bit dodgy. What was
Right.
Just ask the question again, I know.
Do you think we'll get any loan signings in before the loan transfer window ends?
I think I'm going to stick with what I said last time. I don't think we will. We keep hearing things from the club saying they're still looking, and there's irons in the fire, and we won't leave every stone unturned, or whatever, any more cliches you can think of. But I don't think we'll be able to attract anyone into the club, unfortunately. So, but we're just going to have to stick with what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, I at the minute, at the start, I was thinking, yeah, we can get one or two loan players in. But to be honest, Sisu haven't made me think any otherwise. They keep saying that they're looking for people, but they just can't afford anyone. It's the same with the whole Freddie Eastwood situation, in terms of Freddie Eastwood's been told he can leave the club. He's been released by the club, but we still have to pay his wages because of the contract. There were a couple of clubs from League One that wanted to come in for him, but they can't pay his wages, and that's just one of the things that almost every club is going through at the minute. So that's one thing. They're not going to be able to pay for him, and it's the same sort of thing. We can't pay for them. So I don't think personally that we'll get any loans in. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the attendances. And yes, the attendances have gone down a little bit. They're now at about 14,500-ish on average. But for the most part, they've stayed relatively unchanged in terms of the fact that we've been losing a couple of games. And the attendances for me haven't really gone down, and that's a testament to the hardcore Coventry City fans. What do you reckon, Rob?
Well, yeah, I've been expecting it to dip under 10,000 in the past few weeks. So the fact that it hasn't, as you say, still proves that people out there still want to come and support the team, regardless of what's going on off the pitch. You know, people want to watch the team week in, week out, and support the lads on the pitch. Yeah.
So just now we'll knock it off in any second now, but just wanted to do a preview of Leeds on Tuesday. Would you go with Clive Platt or Cody McDonald? The reason why I say this is Clive Platt seemed to do well yesterday. Cody McDonald's still trying to get up to full match fitness, and I'm not sure who I would choose. I'd probably go for Clive Platt, in all honesty, and you know how much I dislike Clive Platt.
Well, I think the fact that McDonald's been on the bench and not come off the bench for the past few games shows that he's still probably not fully match fit. And a game like Leeds away, where they're probably going to be attacking quite a lot, to have big Platt on the pitch be good for defending as well as attacking. So yeah, I'd probably stick with Platt and Jukovic up front.
Plus the fact that he's so tall and you can just hoofballs up to him. You know he's always, most of the time, going to get a head onto it, head it down. Maybe Lukas Jukovic might get on the end of one and just smash it in, and it could be 1-0. Or if with Cody McDonald, I'm just not sure that he's up to full match fitness, up to pace yet. He's a good player and he could be a really good player for Cov, but I just don't know. I'm just not sure whether we should risk it. And there's also obviously the Murphy doubt. Hopefully he'll be back, but I'm not sure what his condition is now. I know he was on the road to recovery yesterday, but I just think Tuesday might be a little bit too soon for him.
We'll have to just wait and see, won't we?
So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, then please like, comment and subscribe. If you want your comments shown in next week's episode, then feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Cheers, guys, and take care. Rob, do you want to say a last few words?
Yeah, thanks again for listening and keep the faith.